where we dive into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us, from personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
LA, New York, I checked it in the right place, so I can verify it. The abuse, I physically saw him over at least 5 times. I can verify it. I got the
President Trump is expected to sign into law. He has done that. There's footage of that. I'm not going to get into that because I got to start getting my things together for my fireworks. Some provisions like those related to tips and overtime. Will be reflected in tax filing starting in 2026. So here's a more detailed breakdown. President Trump expected to sign the bill into law today. 2025, some changes like those concerning qualified tips and overtime will be implemented. So expect for this year, sippers, to have your things together, okay, so that your tips and overtime will be implemented. And the changes can occur for you. Okay, so but federal income tax withholding may not be immediately adjusted, okay, but it will go into effect for us. 2026 taxpayers will begin to see the effects of the bill when they file their 2025 taxes. This includes potential tax deductions on tips and overtime pay, with caps on those deductions. Okay. So, many changes enacted by the One Big Beautiful Bill, OBBB, will take effect in 2026 and later, although some provisions are retroactive and could affect your 2025 taxes. The bill was signed in today. Okay, that's all over if you need to see that. Some key tax breaks and their effective dates. No tax on tips and overtime available for tax years 2025 through 2028 with annual caps. Increased child tax credit. The maximum credit will be $2,200 per child effective this year. Okay, so effective this year, the child tax credit will be able to be utilized. Increased standard deductions effective for taxable years beginning after 2025, with amounts varying by your filing size, whether you file single or jointly as a married couple. Okay, increased state and local taxes SALT deduction. The cap increases for tax years 2025 through 2029, after which it will revert, means it will go back to the way that it was. Deduction for auto loan interest. So available for tax years 2025 through 2028 with income limitations. So you cannot buy a car making over a certain amount of, I think it's $200,000 to receive the auto loan interest deduction. But if you have bought your car this year, then you should qualify for this deduction for auto loan interest. So keep in mind, okay, some provisions have specific income limitations or phase out. So like the income limitations for the tips and overtime. If you make over $150,000, then more than likely this will not include you. Okay, you're not considered in like the lower income bracket to get specific deductions for your tax exemptions. Okay, some changes, particularly those impacting businesses, are retroactive. So it may, help you, support you, aid you through 2025 to 2028 or 2029 or however have you, and then they will revert back to whatever they were before. The OBB makes permanent many provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, CCJA, that were set to expire. Okay, so lots of things that were set to expire for tax cuts and like the tips and overtime exemptions. They're not set to expire. Okay, so they will be made permanent with the OBB. The OBB includes other changes not directly related to tax breaks like Medicaid. Okay, so there will also be things like the clean energy tax credits. Okay, how does the OBBB affect clean energy tax credits? The One Big Beautiful Bill significantly impacts clean energy tax credits largely by repealing or modifying them in comparison to the previous Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. So accelerated phase out or repeal. Many clean energy credits face accelerated phase outs or outright appeal or repeal, sorry. Clean, so solar and wind, right? Okay. Clean electricity investment, section 48E, and production, section 45Y. Tax credits are terminated for projects placed in service after December 31st, 2027. So if you're working on a project that was looking to, have some type of buildup in 20 up from now to 2027, you may not qualify for them under the solar and wind, clean energy investment section, and production section. Okay, exemptions can be projects that begin construction within 12 months after the OBBB's enactment are exempt from the strict placed in service deadline and have more time to qualify for the credit. So get it in now. You only have a year after today. The bill was in by Trump today. So you have 12 months from July 24th, which would be July 4th, 2025 to July 4th of 2026, right? So residential solar, the residential clean energy credit section 25D for systems like rooftop solars will end after December 31st, 2025. So at the end of this Christmas year, this Christmas season, things like low income projects, things that are looking to go up will no longer have this solar and wind energy, able to use these projects, okay, for their projects. So it's a lot in the big beautiful bill. It's a lot. Okay, so as we dive deeper, so several tax changes are in effect, including changes in the child tax credit, senior deductions, and the state and local taxes. There are also changes regarding the taxation of tips and overtime and a deduction for interest payments on certain vehicles. Okay. The electric vehicle credit ends as of September 30th. Okay. So the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act became permanent. This includes the permanent elimination of personal and dependent exemptions, increased standard deductions, and the permanence of current tax brackets. Okay, the increased child tax credit, increased estate tax exemptions, and the deductions for qualified business income also became permanent. So there's a temporary bonus deduction for seniors through 2028. credit for home energy improvements end this year. So there will be no more tax cuts for that, for like low income housing, things like that. An employer provided meals deduction amendment takes effect next year. Immediate expensing of domestic research costs is allowed, and that's permanent. The deduction for moving expenses is permanently repealed for most taxpayers. So it looks like we will no longer be able to use moving as an expense on our taxes. So, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is projected to have significant impacts on the SNAP benefit, commonly known as food stamps, okay? Changes to work requirements. The bill expands work requirements for able-bodied adults without dependents, raising the upper age limit from 54 to 64. So if you're 64 and younger, you are required to work for your food stamps, okay? Reduced benefits and eligibility. The legislation is expected to make it more difficult for people to qualify for benefits and can reduce the amount of benefits of those who are eligible. Estimates from the Congressional Budget Office suggest that 2.9 million people will lose SNAP benefits due to these changes, y'all. 2.9 million. Okay, so we may need to get ready for a purge, because that's a lot of people that are going to go without benefit of being able to eat. Okay. Shifting costs to states. Beginning in 2027, states will be required to pay 75% of the SNAP administrative costs compared to the current 50%. So 25% more of state money needs to fund their food stamp budget in their state, for however many people that they have in their state that are saying that they qualify. States with payment error rates above a certain threshold, currently 6%, will also be required to contribute to the cost of SNAP benefits, potentially assuming up to 15% starting in fiscal year 2029. Elimination of exemptions. The OBBB reverses previous exemptions from paperwork requirements for vulnerable groups, including veterans, people experiencing homelessness, and youth aging out of foster care. This change could lead to a significant number of individuals losing their food assistance, okay? So, if you have like certain things that you're putting in your paperwork where you think that you are maybe eluding the state about whatever your real circumstances are of why you need to receive food stamps, and they find out, then you will lose your SNAP benefit. Okay, so you need to be as honest and truthful about whatever government assistance that you are getting as much as you possibly humanly can, because they are now reversing any exemptions from paperwork for vulnerable groups. Okay, the bill restricts SNAP eligibility to only U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residences. So no longer will illegals be able to come into the United States and get on SNAP benefits. Okay, so that should open it up. Where we're falling short of understanding what this means is, right, not necessarily so much U.S. citizens or lawful permanent residents of the United States will lose SNAP benefits. These are mostly people that are unlawful residents and illegal immigrants because they make up a big percentage of our low income, poverty level people living in our country. Okay. So increases in SNAP benefits based on the Thrifty Food Plan will be limited to the consumer price index. Okay. These changes are projected to reduce annual spending on SNAP by about $19 billion. Okay. So these changes could place significant financial pressures on counties, particularly those that administer health and human service programs. The OBBB is projected to increase a federal deficit, which could trigger automatic spending cuts to other human service programs under the statutory pay-go law, unless Congress intervenes to waive them. So the Center for American Progress argues that these changes will hurt vulnerable populations and increase hunger and poverty in the United States. The USDA, on the other hand, claimed that the OBBB will help refocus resources on rural communities and uplift the farm families while ensuring that benefits are provided to those in need and that are lawful American born citizens. Okay. It is recommended to consult with your local SNAP office or social service agency for specific details on how these changes may affect your eligibility and your benefits. Okay. So, yes, y'all, we are breaking down the big, beautiful bill. I am going to sign off. If there's anything else that we need to talk about this as it comes down the pike, I will jump back on this tea and give it to my sippers. Okay. In the meantime, y'all stay safe. It's the 4th of July.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay dipping.